Ang TNC po ay nakikiisa sa sambayan ng Pilipino para sa isang mapayapang bagong Pasko.
Ang bagong Pasko ay simbolo ng bagong pag-asa. Ito ay isang pagkakataon upang ating mapagnilayan ang mga kaganapan sa ating buhay.
Ang diwa ng bagong Pasko ay hindi mararamdaman sa mga palamuti o karangyaan sa ating kapaligiran, kundi sa alab ng pag-ibig sa ating mga dibdib.
Lahat tayo ay nakaranas ng hirap nitong taon na to. Dahil sa pandemya, nawalan tayo ng oportunidad. Kahit na anong mangyari, pinipilit pa din natin makapagbigay ng saya sa iba. Yan ang diwa ng bagong Pasko.
Para sa akin, ang bagong Pasko ay hindi concerned sa handaan o sa mga regalo. Sharing, giving, taking care of each other. Sana simula ngayong bagong Pasko, ganun na lahat tayo.
Maraming salamat po. The New Channel, maligayang Pasko.
Christmas is always a reminder to have an attitude of gratitude. And that means sharing the love and appreciating everything that matters to you.
Christmas is a celebration of life.
And let us all be grateful that we are enjoying God's gift of life.
Ang bagong Pasko ay simple at payak, nakasentro sa ating pamilya at sa ating Panginoon.
I want to remind everyone that we should treasure the connection that we have. We have our friends, our family, and of course, Jesus Christ.
Para sa akin, ang diwa ng Pasko hindi nagbabago kahit kailan. Ito ay panahon ng pagmamahalan, pag-iibigan. Walang makakatalo sa pagmamahal na binigay sa atin ng Panginoon.
Maraming salamat po, The New Channel. Maligayang Pasko!
Ang tunay na diwa ng bagong Pasko ay hindi lang paghahangad ng mga regalo o mga bagong bagay. Ito ay ang pagpapahalaga sa mga bagay na meron na tayo at ang matutunang ibahagi ito sa mga nangangailangan.
Maraming salamat po, The New Channel.
Dapat din natin tandaan ang totoong diwa ng Pasko, si Kristo Jesus. Noon, ngayon, at magpakailanman.
Ang bagong Pasko para kanako, dili ang masigarbong pagsaulog, kundi ang pag-ambit o ginabang sa mga taong mas nanginahanglan ng panahon sa pandemya.
Ang diwa ng bagong Pasko ay ang pag-iingat sa ating mga sarili, pagiging ligtas sa kapamakan, at pagpapabuti sa ating kalusugan.
Maraming salamat po, The New Channel. Maligayang Pasko.
Maraming salamat, The New Channel. Maligayang Pasko.
Ngayong bagong Pasko, isabuhay natin at maging saksi sa kaganapan sa Belen.
What does the new Christmas mean to me? It means reconnecting. Reconnecting with the people you love, the people you care about, the people you have not spoken with in a long time, that always made you happy.
We should never forget, Christ is still the reason for the season.
The new Christmas for us is focusing on the basic unit of society, which is your family, and virtual togetherness with friends and relatives.
And of course, sharing your blessings to others in need.
Celebrate Christmas with full of gratitude.
Maraming salamat sa New Channel! Maraming salamat sa New Channel!
Ang Pasko ay tungkol sa pagmamahal mo sa pamilya mo at pagiging mabuti sa kapwa.
Christmas is the season of giving, but you cannot give if your hands are closed. So open your hands and your hearts and give. And your open hands will receive so much more.
Maraming salamat sa New Channel! Maligayang Pasko!
Christmas is the season of giving. It is best spent with our families. But let us not also forget that this is the celebration of the birth of our Lord Jesus Christ.
Para sa akin, ang diwa ng bagong Pasko ay ang pagkakaroon ng mas madaming oras para sa ating mga pamilya.
Maraming salamat sa New Channel. Maligayang Pasko!
Christmas is always about sharing and caring, loving ourselves, and loving others.
Ang bagong Pasko para sa akin, malayo man tayo sa isa't isa, ang pagmamahal ay atin pa rin maipadarama. Maligayang Pasko po at manigong bagong taon sa inyong lahat.
Isalapi mo'y naglaon na ang iyong tuwa at saya, napalitan ng kaba. Itatanong kung may pag-asa pa. Ang hamon ng panahon ngayon, tayo'y pinaglayo ng pagkakataon. Ngunit di ka nag-iisa, huwag ka nang mangalamba. May kasama ka kahit nasan ka pa. Malayo man malapit din, ang Pasko'y darating pa rin. May luha man may ngiti, basta tayo'y magkapiling. Sa mundong nagdidilim, tala niya'y magdidilim. Ang pagmamahal sa puso mo, ang diwan na bagong Pasko. Sabihin mo ang bagong umaga, sa pagkakatapay bumangon ka. Sa Paskong darating, pangarap ay tuloy pa rin. Kapayapaan ang maghahari sa atin. Malayo man malapit din, ang Pasko'y darating pa rin. May luha man may ngiti rin, basta tayo'y magkapiling. Sa mundong nagdidilim, tala niya'y magnining. Ang pagmamahal sa puso mo, ang diwan na bagong Pasko. Kahit na magkalayo, ikaw ang laging nasa puso. Kahit nasaan ka pa, dama pa rin ang pagsinta. Ang pagsinta, malayo man malapit din, ang Pasko'y darating pa rin. May luha man may ngiti rin, basta tayo'y magkapiling. Sa mundong nagdidilim, tala niya'y magnining. Ang pagmamahal sa puso mo, ang diwan na malayo man malapit din. Ang Pasko'y darating pa rin. May luha man may ngiti rin, basta tayo'y magkapiling. Sa mundong nagdidilim, tala niya'y magnining. Ang pagmamahal sa puso mo, ang diwan na bagong Pasko. Pagmamahal sa puso mo, ang diwan na bagong Pasko.
The new channel. The new channel.
The views, opinions, and insights expressed in the following show are those of the hosts, producers, guests, and viewers. they do not necessarily reflect the position of the channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
The channel. Today's episode of One Day is dedicated to a special person, a remarkable pillar of creativity of this country and the world, a great mentor, an innovative, serial, and very successful entrepreneur, an awesome brother, the best son, a dear friend, my dear friend Brian Tenorio. Brian did not live long enough to be with us this Christmas, but I know that he's happy and at peace, looking down on us from heaven. Bri, this one is for you.
Something extremely fantastic about Philippine design is that there's a lot of desire and a lot of love. You get this fantastic combination. You cannot get this fantastic combination in any other developing state or developing nation in Southeast Asia except in the Philippines. We love what we do and we do a lot of stuff superbly well, and that's what I love about the Philippines. A lot of heart in every design. Filipinos put in a lot of heart and desire and all the satisfaction in the smallest things they do. And when they do these details very well, then you get a fantastic, fantastic product. Filipino design leads very well in the region, especially. Our combination is extremely, superbly, superiorly unique, I would say. And I say this very well, happily saying superlatives. If you match us up with the other countries in the region, we have all these like 300 years of Spanish colonization, European, and you have American, you have other Asian countries colonizing us for a bit, and you have that fantastic mix of, let's see, culture, love, and desire. I think there's a very strong component of happiness in everything a Filipino designs. We design from our gut, and that's how we make things more beautiful. The Philippines has this fantastic history and full history of all these challenges, and especially financial, especially economic, from the last several decades. But then again, it's that mix. We enjoy, and we enjoy the things that happen to us, and there's humor everywhere else, and that's why we thrive very, very well. The component of happiness and hope, I think, always work very well. These components, happiness and hope, in Filipino design. We design because we believe it's going to be better for our lives and for our children. We design because we think it's going to make us happier as a country, and individually even. Let me answer your question differently. I think Filipinos will always be extremely proud of whatever Philippine imprint there will be in any design products. They will be extremely proud of anything that has a Filipino imprint on any particular product around the world. That is because we love our own, and we love our country, and no other country has this amount of happiness and sunshine except the Philippines. In under a decade, this day, May 17, has established itself as the single most important date for LGBTI communities to mobilize on a worldwide scale.
Hello everyone, my name is AJ Lumarukot. I'm a graphic designer, and I'm a co-director of Brian at the Communication Design Association of the Philippines, along with our co-directors Angel, Joey, Dan, Robert, Aram, and myself. So I speak on behalf of our group. I'm pretty sure a lot of Brian's little groups are represented today. And I also speak on behalf of myself, as I've known Brian for a very long time. I met him probably 2 decades ago as I was figuring out and flunking college and trying to become a designer, a graphic designer, a web designer, and came across his work and pretty much admired what he was doing. I was essentially a fan of his work. Probably there were no Instagram pages or Facebook things at that time, so I was probably emailing him and just telling him I'm a fan of his work. And then one day he invited me to speak in his class because of the things that I was involved in as a web designer in a small company, and that really helped me gain some confidence in my own career journey. And I admire that Brian was very open to prop people up in the industry, and he was really a champion of others, and as shown in the many things that he's believed in and been involved in. And so over the years, we would always bump into each other during these creative industry events, and coming more close when we work together as co-judges at local competitions that called the Adobo Design Awards, which Angel started, our co-director at CDAP. We would always have fun, like 2 days of the year, just enjoying and talking about creativity and what we thought of local entries to the competition. And so over the years, I also admired Brian for all the things that he started as a creative person, and as a creative entrepreneur And I thought I had a lot of ideas, and then, but they were all just ideas. But Brian, who was somebody who had an idea, he would make it happen. And as shown by all these companies that he started, from the shoes to the coffee to the mind care stuff, and then also championing so many things and giving much of himself to much larger causes in the Philippines, in the community, in his own communities, and also in our industry of design. Something random this year of Brian just being so helpful. I was asking some questions about starting a barangay micro business enterprise. I was just, probably crowdsourcing a question, and Brian messaged me and said, let me call you up. I'll spend some time with you and talk to you about these things and teach you the ways, essentially, of how to start this up. We spent an hour or two this year already when he was going through a lot of his medication, and for him to spend an hour just telling me about his own experience setting up a BMP company. I will not forget that, because that's the last time we spoke, and I just miss that about him. I miss his energy. I miss him just being open and selfless and giving of himself to others. So, Brian, I miss you. We miss you. We love you, and we will never forget you.
The best thing about Brian Tenorio, there's just so many possible answers to that. I don't even know where to begin. But I think fundamentally, the best thing about Brian was he was a good person who believed in the goodness of other people. He believed that the people around him were all awesome. And that was reflected in how he would introduce his friends to each other. Here's this person, he does this and does wonderful so and so. And it was reflected in how he fought for equality and representation with our friends from the LGBTQ community. And it was reflected in how he made every single person within his sphere feel so very, very special. And that's the best thing about Brian.
Hi, Apple. Thank you for putting this together and sharing the story of Brian on ONEDAY, and to all the viewers of the new channel. Watching all these photos and videos, I don't know, it just triggered a bittersweet feeling. I met Brian many years ago, back in your high school in 1992, so quite a long time ago. And I think almost immediately it was kind of natural that we gravitated towards one another. It looked like we were both interested in art and design, and we ended up working a lot together on our school projects, group works, and we just agreed on a lot of things. And I think after all these years, almost 30 years, of friendship, it's really something that is just priceless and irreplaceable. And it's quite difficult to nurture that kind of, connection with someone, wherein you without saying a word, what's on each other's minds. And I think that's what I miss a lot about Brian also, is that that side of him that that really uh, appreciates thought and the little details, and just understanding people. He was always very interested in people, genuinely, and always ready to help them. And that was something that you know always I always admired about Brian, because no matter how bad things got, he always would rather see the positive side of things. And I think that rubbed off on a lot of people, and I think it's really something that uh, a lot of us need, especially these days. And I hope that it's something that he has somehow left with us, as kind of a legacy or a learning, uh, and that we carry on that light that he has shown us. Now, um, there's a lot of things that people have said about Brian already, a lot of great things. And, you know, uh, I guess one thing that would be unique, in our relationship as best friends is, you see the person behind all of this. And the nice thing is, he is the same, through and through. Uh, it's not an act that he's putting up front. He's always this passionate, especially in private when he starts really to think deep, and dig deep into his thoughts and the things that transpired throughout the day. I mean, we used to call each other at the end of a very, very long day, hoping to just, have a small, like maybe 15-30 minute chat, which would eventually end up until the wee uh, hours of the morning. And it's really it's really that connection that I miss. And recently I was reading a book, and it talks about the human scale, the human scale in the universe, basically, and how small we are, in term compared to everything else that makes up the universe, and how short our lifespan is compared to how long the universe has been existing. And so, putting it in that perspective, well, basically the message was, you're but a speck. But I think what is so amazing about uh, Brian and how he has lived his life, you know, although even shorter than most, he, I think, has truly disproved that thought that your life is but a blip. Because even though it was a very, very short life for him, I think he had shown so brightly that it had affected so many people around him. You know, his close friends, his even just acquaintances who had caught a glimpse of how he was and how passionate he was about everything, I think could not help but be affected. And I think that was a gift. That was a gift that he had. And I think that although I miss him, we miss him. I think in some ways he really on. You know, as I look around at objects, at memories that we have had, at our friends that when we get together, especially this time of year, it's about this time when we get together and celebrate Christmas. We miss him badly, but then I think he's very much left a part of him, a part of his heart in each of us, uh, and at least that helps to for us to miss him less, at least a little bit, right? And yeah, so I'm very grateful to have been given this opportunity in this lifetime to have been considered a very close friend of Brian. I'm very wary of using the term best friend, although that's what we consider each other, because I do not want to take away at all from other people who have become very, very close to him as well. And I think he has a lot of best friends, not just myself. And in some degree, I'm very, very sure that he has made people feel that way, feel that they are special in their own way, simply by the way that he was there for them. And so Yeah, this Christmas season, I am thinking of Brian. I have been thinking about him a lot, and I miss him. But I also am just inspired, with the thought that um, we had the kind of friendship that we shared, and that it is something so special uh, that will definitely make the rest of my life just even more meaningful. So thank you, Brian.
What a day to remember my son Brian on the birthday of his dad, who passed away 20 years ago. In September 2019, Brian was diagnosed of colon cancer. He never told me about it. I just found out when I saw laboratory results in his hidden cabinet. When I confronted him, he tearfully told me that he had cancer and that I can no longer live long enough to take good care of me. The reason he opted to go back to the Philippines from New York City was to stay with me in my old age. I was 79 years old then. I tried to control myself and asked him why he was so upset and crying. He said, "Mommy, I have cancer. Wala nang mag-aalaga sa'yo." I told him, everybody has his destiny, as God has plans for everyone. Instead, I said, to pray to God to heal him and extend his life longer. My friends and relatives learned about his health condition. We had our prayer brigade for Brian's healing and recovery, together with my relatives praying together. He had his chemotherapy and was doing well. In July 2020, he became weak and bedridden. We opted to pray the Holy Rosary together in his bed in his room. I told him that when they were kids with his sister Christine, I read bedtime stories from my Reader's Digest book for children to put them to sleep. Now I said, I'm praying with you the Holy Rosary to put you to sleep. 4 days of his confinement in bed, he can no longer join, so I just continued praying and left him asleep. In July 22nd, no longer eat. His ever-caring friend Mark advised me to send him to the hospital. Brian never wanted to be hospitalized. Again, Brian never told me that he was expecting the worst of his illness. He even told the doctors not to tell me anything bad about the seriousness of his disease. While in the hospital, his doctor told me that Brian is in critical condition. She asked me if they can do aggressive resuscitation. Brian earlier told his doctor twice not to do further medication. So I told his doctor to follow Brian's desire. His doctor asked permission if he can call a priest for his extreme unction before his last breath, which was followed. I was never his deathbed, nor his sister Christine, as she can't travel from New York because of the pandemic. I was never permitted to see him too because I am a senior citizen. Until now, I pray to God to give me the grace to accept the Almighty God's will. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my unforgettable, loving, and painful memories of my son. I remember many instances how he cared for people, giving services to him. One time, we came from NKI where his dad was hospitalized and passed by the gate of the parking area. And the guard was not in his post. I said, let's go and forget the parking fee. Brian said to me, we have to wait and pay what is due. I was surprised and grateful to witness his honesty. Again, most of the time, he gave big tips to waiters or anything who would render services to him. He said they deserve extra tips for the good work. He cares for everybody. He is a friend to all and never had an enemy. Brian is very caring, loving, and thoughtful son, brother, relatives, friends, and other people he met. Thank you to all who conveyed their condolences, their prayers, and for their help, both materially and financially. May Almighty God, to the intercession of Mama Mary, bless us and keep us safe and whole and healthy always. Merry Christmas, a prosperous New Year to you all.
Hi everyone, I am Christine, Brian's only sister, live streaming from New York. We are here to remember and to celebrate the life well lived of a great son, an awesome brother, and a loving friend, Brian Ubungen Tenorio. As I recall, a few years back, Brian would describe himself as a Tehran, Iran born, Philippine raised, and American shoe designer. And most recently, over a decade from then, I got a hold of his resume. It was at least 4 pages. And when you check his Facebook account, you'll see the list that he has there for his accomplishments is a full, possibly a full screen. But I guess this impressive list, I am most certain, was humbly made by him. He had more accomplishments and achievements that he probably did not write down. He was a simple person. Most of you would probably see him walking around UP Town Center or the Ateneo or in Marikina or in our village in Providence. Wearing his black shirt, his black shorts, his black socks, if he had any, his black rubber shoes, and of course his black belt bag. Very simple. Brian was born on September 26, 1977. He passed away a month short of his 43rd birthday. His best friend Mark and our cousin Cecil were with him during his last breath. In April 2000, our dad passed away, and I was lucky to be home at that time because I stayed away in a dorm for college. But during that weekend, our dad had a medical emergency, so we had to carry him from his room to the car, Brian and I, and Brian drove to the hospital. Our father passed on April 13, 2000, 20 years ago. And that night, when we returned from the hospital, Brian, I believe he was 23, grew up and accepted the responsibility of being the head of the family. In 2002, I left Manila and had stayed in the U.S. ever since, and only came home to the Philippines a few times since then. Brian and I remained in touch. I really didn't have to call him or didn't have to text him every day because I felt so content. He's always there. Like when you have someone, you don't really have to see them, you don't really have to talk to them, but they're always there. That's Brian. Last year, before his 42nd birthday, that's when he said, that's when he told me he had cancer. I believe before he even told our mom. So he said he wanted to not do his chemo yet or his treatment yet because he wanted to enjoy his upcoming birthday. He was not really worried about himself, but his main concern was actually our mom and me. In his words, when I spoke to him, he actually said he was worried of us and said, "Paano na kayo?" Up until the last moments of his life, he was selfless. I was lucky to have spent last year, 2019, last year's Christmas with him in Marikina with our cousins. And as he posted in Facebook back a few years ago, he said all he wanted for Christmas, he already had. #family. He was a great son. He was always worried, and yet always patient and caring of our mom. Our mom was his world. He would always credit his accomplishments to her, and that they were always because of her, always. He was our mom's boy, and he was proud every minute of it. He was an awesome brother. I'm sure, we had our squabbles, we had our fights, some physical of when we were younger. But throughout our adult life, we were there for each other. We were there always. He was my toink, and I was his. He called me toink as his term of endearment, I guess, and I would call him toinkies or toinkles, and that's how we called each other. The day that he passed, as I laid my head on the wall thinking about him, I wanted to share that I heard his voice. I saw his face in my head. And he said, "Toink, don't worry, I'm okay." I guess that's how Brian was. He customizes you, not to discriminate against you or not to isolate you, but to make you feel special, to make you unique. It was a good feeling to be around him. Whoever you are, may you be a longtime friend or a new friend or an acquaintance you just met that day. That feeling that you have, as I've heard and I have experienced when you are with him, it's so just comfortable. And I had called it actually the Brian Tenorio experience. His love was just overflowing and his passion was just there. I would actually like to thank you for this moment, for having us share him and celebrate this day. His actually his first day, his first Christmas away from us. Also, our dad's birthday today, December 19th. Um, there are a lot of things I would like to talk to you or to tell you about him. But I could research all day, I could interview a lot of people, I could speak for my own experiences, but I do not think there are enough hours to talk about how great of a son, how awesome of a brother, and how loving of a friend he was. Let us all remember that warm feeling, that cozy feeling that you felt when you were with him as we all celebrate this Christmas season. Um, before before I end this message, before this I end the story, I'd like to thank Apple for giving me the opportunity to giving our family the opportunity to share Brian and to celebrate Brian in this episode. When I spoke to Apple, it was actually heartwarming to hear a friend talking about him. Um, it was I missed him so much, and hearing about other people's personal experiences makes him feel alive. It makes me feel that he's still with us. Twink, I miss you. I miss your voice. I miss your face. I miss your head poking through the video whenever I chat with mommy. Merry Christmas wherever you are. And truly, it is hard to forget someone who gave us so much to remember. Thank you.